Hi, welcome to Amor de Luna. I'm here with Aerion. She's my guest for today. And today we're going to be talking about how faith and alignment lead you to the right man. You and your husband have been married for how long now?
2 years.
2 years.
That's
How did you
crazy to say.
guys? I know. It's kind of great. Y'all are still newlyweds then,
Yeah, I
technically,
guess so,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When does that wear off?
I think it's after 3 years.
Okay.
But how did you guys meet and what really stood out to you whenever y'all were first dating early on that you're
Beginning
like,
stages?
yes,
Yeah. So we actually met through Facebook dating.
what?
Yeah, I know, right? I was closed off to the idea of a man, honestly.
Okay.
But I felt like in my spirit, like God nudging me to put myself out there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to. Like, I've been hurt, I'm still healing. I don't feel like I'm ready. And I felt like God was saying, I didn't ask you if you were ready. Put
Oh,
yourself out there. And I was like, okay. And then, like, what stood out early was just we actually met for the first time at like in person at the church that I was going to at the time. So he came to
aw.
Bible study with me,
What? Did you
and
invite him?
yeah, I did.
Okay.
He invited me for coffee the day before, and I was like,
We're
no.
going to go to church.
Yeah, well, I was tired. I had came from work already. I was like, I'm already in my pajamas. Like, no.
Yeah.
But I'm going to church tomorrow for Bible study. Young adults, like, you can come with me. And that was a test because a lot of men will say like, oh, I'm a Christian, whatever. But they I'm like, I need to see the fruit of that.
Pay attention.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, almost like a test.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, I'd love to. So he got off work, he came, and what stood out to me about him was that he was like engaging in worship and like the small group discussion and all that stuff. I got to hear a little bit about his testimony and learn about him in that
Wow.
way.
So
And
he
I was
contributed during this Bible
yeah, so I
study.
was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, so you're not doing the Christian thing for fun. Like
Right.
you're
Like
for real. You're
yeah.
legit. So that really stood out to me, his character.
When you guys actually started to date, what really stood out to you that you were like, okay, this aligns with what I'm looking for in a husband? Because
Right.
there's a difference.
I think that I knew that he was someone that could lead spiritually
Mm.
and just lead in general. I knew that, he and it was like his mannerisms and the way that he treated me, opening a car door for me, making sure I was in the car. We're walking down the street and he puts me on the other side so I'm away from the cars. Like,
Yes, protector.
I also think there's a difference between a good man and a godly man.
Yeah.
And he's always been a good man, but it was the godly man qualities that really stood out to me. Sure.
Wow. And what is the difference between a good man and a godly man?
Well, a good man is all the things that you want on paper. He's a provider, he's this, he's that, but he doesn't submit to God's authority.
Mm.
And my husband does.
Got it.
He's led by God. We make decisions in faith. I can trust him with that. I can trust him to lead because I know that he's not leading technically, but
Yeah.
he is submitted to God, so I can trust him fully.
That's important because a lot of women, especially growing up for me, the word submission was very much a cuss word. I was like, ew, like disgusting. We are not submitting to anything, not no man, no nothing.
Right.
But it's really number one, submission is just really under one mission. That's what that means. And I think for women, especially when a man is wanting that respect, wanting to have a woman that will trust him to lead, it is feeling safe. It is feeling like, oh, he's following something higher than himself
Yeah.
to where I feel comfortable to then follow you.
Exactly.
Because a man without direction, where are we going? What am I
Right.
submitting to?
What are we doing?
What did those conversations really look like early on in your dating journey to where you were so sure about him being a man of God versus just a good man and that he aligned with what you wanted in the future?
Just like his intention behind like getting to know me, it wasn't seeking the physical. Like, it took us probably like 4 or 5 dates to even kiss. Like, it was just
Oh,
very very intentional.
okay.
And I mean, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but both of us had been in relationships previously where communication was like non-existent. It wasn't a thing. It really took a toll on both of us.
Mm,
So from the beginning, we've always over communicated,
that's good.
had deep, hard conversations first. What didn't work in your last relationship? Where did you fall short? Where did they fall short? What would you have done differently?
Wow.
And stuff like that. And I feel like that really played a good role in like, okay, yeah, I can see myself with you. And just like, you know, our age as well, we're like, okay, we're pushing 30. Like, I'm not here to play games with you.
We
You're
ain't got
either it or
time.
you're not.
Yeah.
So,
That's really good. That's exactly what I teach the women in my course to do, is to have those hard conversations, those uncomfortable questions, especially about previous relationships,
yeah,
because it's like, have you learned from those
exactly.
relationships? Have
Yeah.
you grown since? And really, I teach my women to pay attention to how the man really talks about his previous partners,
Mm,
because that tells a lot about where he's at mentally, where he's at emotional maturity wise. I really wanted to have you here today is because of your content. I know that you're on your journey of health and marriage and UGC. Like, tell me a little bit about what made you want to get into that in the first place and what you're really excited about for this year.
Um, honestly, it was during quarantine that I
Okay.
like got into social media and all that stuff, and I definitely feel like it is my calling. It is my ministry. Um, but I got into it because I lost my waitressing job, of
Oh,
course. Um,
oh yeah, because it's not an essential.
it's not essential, you know. So
Okay.
you don't need pancakes. This is like life or death, you
Wait, were
guys.
you working for like a?
I was working at IHOP and I saw an opportunity direct selling company online, and I was like, oh, okay, like this woman is has her one kid breastfeeding and then her toddler running around, and she's making money online. I was like, I grew up with a single mom. I just don't think that if this is like legit, if it wasn't legit, she would not be doing this when she has two little kids to take care
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
She would just put them in daycare and go find a job. Like,
right.
she wouldn't be doing all this. Like, there has to be something there. um so I started working with her, and I just started to learn the ins and outs of social media, and I made my first check before unemployment hit. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay, this is something that can actually like carry me long term. And since I grew up with a single mom, I always knew like I want to be present when
Mm,
it's my turn. I want to be able to be there. I mean, no fault to her, but like I want to be present.
right.
I feel like as women, it is kind of hard navigating motherhood and career. It's
Yeah.
like you have to choose, and
Mm.
social media gives me that option to have both simultaneously. To be able to, bring in income so my husband doesn't have to work six jobs to provide,
Yeah.
but also be able to be present with my kids where I'm not having to put them in daycare in order to contribute an income.
Mm. I love that. I definitely have similar goals. That's something that my husband and I talked about early on in dating, was what did we want our dynamic to look like
Right.
when having a family. And a big thing for me, because I was also raised by a single mom, is being present, and I also do not want to put my kids in daycare because daycare would be crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Expensive and dangerous.
yeah, like you never know. And they can't even, a lot of times they're so little, they can't even really tell you what's going on. And I did
Right.
not like that idea. But also, yeah, like having it all, like, I, once I got into my faith, because before I even was in my faith at all, I really thought what society is kind of teaching right now, of like, if you're a strong and amazing woman, you have a successful career, and children and marriage kind of go on the back burner, and
Right.
that's what I thought. But I knew that I've always wanted to be a mom, and I was like, is it possible to have both, so it was just very conflicting. But the biggest thing when it came to my husband and I is, he was like, hey, I would love for you to focus on being a mother, being a wife, and I'm going to take care of us and all these things. And I was like, what? Like, I was just so like, this is what I've been praying for. But then it
Right.
was like, what do I do with this? Because like, if I'm not bringing in monetary value, what value do I have to add? It was a very conflicting time for me. And so I definitely understand that need and want for wanting to be an amazing mother and have something that you're passionate about. Going to before your husband, how did you show up in relationships before versus how you're showing up in your relationship now?
Ooh. I think the relationship that I usually reference when it comes to like before is the one right
The testimony.
right the one right before him,
Okay.
right before my husband.
All right.
And the reason is like that person, like when I talked about the difference between a good man and a godly man, like he, I mean, now that I look back at it, he wasn't good either, but
Mm.
during the situation it seemed like he was. But my dynamic was kind of like, okay, I see potential in you, and I,
Not the potential.
yes, I see potential, and I feel like my love can fix you. My love can
Oh.
fix the brokenness. My love can show you how good God is, because he didn't really have a relationship with God, which was like
Mm.
the biggest red flag for me and
Yeah.
what I need and want. But I kind of put that on the back burner for acceptance, for love, for the curiosity of this person is attracted to me, I'm attracted to them. Let's see if that's enough,
Mm.
which obviously it was not.
Yeah.
Um, so that was my dynamic, and now my dynamic is praying through everything. Like during my relationship with my husband when we were dating, I was like, I love him. I am excited to see where this goes. But God, if this is not the one for me, then like take those feelings away, let the relationship dissolve itself. And that's something I wasn't doing before. I was just kind of
Mm.
left it up to myself. But God hears conversations that we don't. He knows things that we don't. My
Yeah.
past relationship, I was taking care of a grown man and his child, someone older than me,
Yeah.
um, doing everything financially, pretty much, putting a roof over our head, all of that stuff,
Wow.
and was still behind closed doors, like getting cheated on. Like I knew, but I didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a lot has changed from that. That was very traumatic to where I was like, God,
Oh.
he seems perfect, but you may know something I don't. So
Right. Wow. I mean, similar situation, like in my previous relationship, this is actually my second marriage. I was married um, really early. I think I was maybe 20 or 21 when I first got married to my first husband. And, like I said, I was raised by a single mother. So I was very much told and this is I don't want to put it all on my mother. I think society really has teaches women to think this way. But I was taught like I am woman, hear me roar. Like I need to be the one in charge and disrespect men. Like and just really I attracted a feminine man in that regard because I was so in my masculine. So same, I was
mm-hmm.
taking care of a grown man, being the mother, being the wife. So it very much conflicted a lot in our marriage, but also same thing behind closed doors, things were happening. And it was very much on my volition. Like I'm the one that wanted a man that I could push around, that I could control. I very much had that idea of I'm going to be the career woman and you can be stay at home dad because that shows me and my power. But it was really all rooted in fear. It was all rooted in insecurities and it very much reflected in my marriage and it went south. And so, same thing, you know, after I got my divorce, I was very much in line with my faith at that time, which I hadn't been in so many years. I had been scarred really by people, not really by God. But once I got aligned with him, I was like, listen, I'm gonna let go, I'm gonna let flow, and I'm gonna let God and I'm gonna let him choose. Cause obviously, clearly, I kind of suck at
Right, that's what I
choosing.
said too. I was like, I'm not doing something right. I'm gonna need you to like
Yeah.
bring the guy and be like, hey, my homeboy's trying to talk to you. Like that's what I needed at
Really?
that point.
I know. I was like, listen. And it was so funny because my husband and I had been friends for almost 2 years before we actually got together. And I never saw him as like a romantic partner. But all of a sudden, it was like I started having feelings for him. And I'm like, God? What? since when is he attractive? Like, and he's an attractive man, but I never saw him that way.
Right.
He was more my friend, my buddy, so it was just kind of weird. But it was then everything started aligning, and it kind of came all like almost too perfect, where that fear did kind of set in of like, is this real? Like, is this, am I jumping in too soon? You know, but it just felt very right because it was actually a man that was aligned with what I wanted in the future and wanted for my future children and
Yeah.
for myself. You know, with my course, I really talk about really shifting into that feminine. And so for you, where do you think in those areas helped you get into your feminine in regards to control, fear, anxiety, not just in your marriage, but as a woman, you know, outside of their marriage?
I feel like shifting into it was something that not so much came naturally, but almost just because of like who my husband was.
Mm.
I didn't have to come from a place of, oh, I need to figure this out and I need to figure that out. Like I'd go to him with like problems and all this stuff and he'd have a solution.
Mm.
Suddenly I don't have to drive myself anywhere. Suddenly I'm not worried about like, bills once we came together and we're married.
Yeah.
Suddenly I can just be. I
Mm.
can just exist. I can lean more into my passions because I'm not having to worry about other stuff in the background. Like
Yeah.
taxes, I don't know what they are. Like, like it's just those little details and stuff like that really, really helped me to relax into it because I knew it was something that I needed to do
Yeah.
and that I was called to do. But I almost was kind of like, but how? But you know, I didn't have to think about how. It just came. It just came naturally because of who he was, and so that bleeds into my passions because it allows me to just have that freedom to create, to just
Yeah.
be feminine, and like I think the most thing that I guess a lot of women don't realize is that it feels good to be
Mm.
in your feminine. Like it is natural. It is the way that it is supposed to be. It's by design.
Yeah.
So when you are operating in that, it just feels like you are in alignment, and it
Mm.
feels like everything just flows.
Yeah, that's what I teach my women. I'm like, you know, when I was in my feminist era, you know, like I am woman, hear me roar. I thought that being a strong woman was what I needed to be, but there's a difference between being a strong woman versus being a woman of strength. Well, are you okay with me shifting the conversation a little bit? Okay. So I know we talked about, you know, starting a family and stuff like that before this. I guess how is this season really preparing you for motherhood?
I made like a whole YouTube video about this, so it's
Okay.
funny, but it is preparing me because I feel like I am mothering myself.
Mm.
I am learning discipline through my weight loss journey because, as I shared on my page, we started trying to conceive in 2024, and there it was not like a huge struggle, but I just wanted to go to the doctor and make sure that everything was okay
Right.
prior to really getting into it. And then, a year down the line, be like, oh, it was this underlying issue that if you went to the doctor, you would have known.
Yeah.
Um, and she advised me to lose weight first and then try because she said that in some women, even a difference of like 5 pounds, like gaining or losing, depending on their body, BMI, and all that stuff, can be the difference between getting pregnant or not. And I
Really?
was like, well, that's worth it for me.
Right.
So I went through that process um, and lost 40 pounds.
Okay.
Thank
Class
you.
reunion.
Through that process, like I learned discipline. I
Mm.
learned, okay, I don't feel like walking. I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like doing all these things. I want to eat this. I want to eat that. But I like stayed with it. Like obviously, I allowed myself moments, but for the majority of the time, I stuck with it. And it just taught me like resilience and all the qualities that I'm going to need in motherhood. And if I could show up for myself, then I know I can show up for my future children. and also just like discipline of doing it anyway, even when I don't want to, waking up
Yeah,
early, all that type of stuff. Like that is going to be the reality, especially in that, you know, newborn stage. So, um, yeah, I feel like it has, my weight loss journey has prepared me in that way of just discipline and resilience.
that's awesome. And yeah, that's such a beautiful way to put that, of like mothering yourself, because self-care is self-parenting yourself. A lot of us, I think, have a lot of what we've learned from our parents and the environments we're in, other people that were also grown-ups that showed us what love looks like and how you should conduct yourself and what to do in certain situations. And we grow up and we learn, okay, that hasn't exactly resulted in me having the life that I want, the body that I want,
Right.
the mindset that I want, And so it's really up to us to change that and to parent ourselves to get to the version of us that we want to see, the best version of us. What's one mistake women make when trying to find the right man?
When you said that question, the first thing that came to my mind was, like, who are you? What, where, like you said, where do you fall in that aspect, and making sure that you're the right woman first. Like that was the first thing that came to my
Yes.
mind. Like you want the right man, but are you the right woman?
Yeah.
Because in the same way that you deserve the best, so does he.
What does a peaceful relationship feel like compared to a pressure filled one?
It feels aligned. I feel like
Yes.
it feels, not to use the word, but peaceful.
Yeah.
It feels
Self
peaceful.
explanatory.
It feels like tranquility. Like, you know, you don't have to, like you talked about cortisol and stuff like that. You don't
Yeah.
have to force anything. You don't have to like put on a front that you're happy or anything like that. You get to just kind of just be and just exist within that relationship, and you know, working together towards common goals. And you're not so much operating in your masculine, like, okay, well, I got to make sure that he does this and he does that. I have to provide. I have to, um, you know, make sure the kids are taken care of and all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like you have a partner who is doing
Yes.
those things with you. And the way that I kind of describe it, like when I'm with my husband, I can turn my brain off.
Yes.
Like I literally, like,
Dude, I
I'm
know.
just a girl.
But yeah, I think a peaceful relationship feels, like you said, aligned, and it's also not playing games. So there is no pressure to be like the black cat and the golden retriever. I gotta, put distance so that way I can get him to want me more. Or, I used to be the girl to look up on Google like how to make him obsessed with you and like all of the things, because I wanted to control, I wanted to be desired, I wanted to be that woman for somebody. But a peaceful relationship, a man is going to love you for you. And that's why it's so important for you to know who you are, know what you need to work on, and
Yeah.
actively parent yourself to become her, right? Because you can be
Yeah.
her right now. You don't have to wait and do all these things. Like that best version of yourself, you can start acting like her right now. And that brings peace in the relationship because you're keeping yourself accountable, you have your own life. There is no pressure for him to be everything you need because you find that you're fulfilled with God, your faith, or whatever that is. You have your own life, your friends, your family, outside of the marriage as well as in the marriage, and having good people around you that are going to respect and love you as a married woman. And what would you tell a woman who desires marriage but feels anxious or rushed?
I would say that God's timing never misses.
Ooh, that's
Like
a good one.
it never does, because like I said, previously, like I was not ready, or at least I felt like I wasn't ready to receive love. I felt like I wasn't ready to, you know, I wasn't even thinking about marriage, but just like be in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
But me and my husband met, and then we started dating, and 5 months later we got married.
Crazy.
So I
Mine
was,
was mine was pretty fast too.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I wasn't rushing it, but everything, because it was aligned and because it was God, it all happened like boom, 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 boom.
Very much aligned, and that's what happened with an aligned relationship. When y'all both are on the same page when it comes to your vision, your purpose,
Yeah.
your faith, everything does seem to move a lot quicker because you're more confident. So yeah, I love that. I think that's really cool. 5 months. Wow.
Yeah, he told me that he would, like, when we were dating, it was probably like a couple weeks in that we were having this conversation, but he
Okay.
said that he would know for sure in 6 months to a year. But it took 5. He was like, "Nope, I'm sure."
That's beautiful. I know my husband and I we got engaged. We got engaged May. Okay, we got together in May. We got engaged in December. So May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, 7 months. And then we got married in March.
Okay, so yeah, we started dating like August,
Okay.
and then we got like engaged, and I use air
I'm
quotes
like, what?
because we got engaged in January,
Okay.
late December, early January. And yeah, I say engaged because we were like kind of like joking around, like, oh, like, I'd marry you or whatever, and
Uh,
then we're like pulled up the computer, like looking at stuff for the courthouse, and like he's putting his information in, and I'm like, oh, I thought we were playing, like, you're being for real. And it was one of those things where it's like, I'm joking if you're joking, but I'm serious if you're serious.
what? That's crazy.
So we did that. Got a ring. I got a cheap ring from Walmart just to perform the ceremony. And
What?
then I told him I still wanted a big wedding and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
he actually ended up proposing again with a ring that he purchased. And
Oh,
then we had our big fairy tale wedding
that's so
for our
sweet.
1 year anniversary.
Oh my goodness. That's really sweet. I love that.
So he said I'm putting a ring on it twice.
I love that. I think that's really beautiful. I mean, this is why I tell women, that I teach. It's like a man knows if he wants to marry you, and he'll
Yeah.
make it happen. Like
Right.
finances, all that other excuses are what they are. They're excuses.
Yep.
If the man wants to marry you, he will make it happen. My answer to what I would tell a woman who desires marriage but feels anxious or rushed is that that's probably not the man for you. If you feel
Mm-hmm.
anxious or not really sure about this man, if he has the right intentions for you, if he's ready to commit to you, if he's the right one for you for your future children, listen to that. Don't ignore that. There's a
That's your
reason
answer.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so that's the biggest thing that I would teach women about that. But thank you so much for doing this with
Yeah,
me.
it was so fun. I loved
I
it.
definitely love your content, and I will link it down below so that way you follow her Instagram. Where can people find you?
So it is Rodriguez Aerion on Instagram, Aerion Rodriguez 97 on TikTok, and then just simply Aerion Rodriguez on YouTube. I mostly post lifestyle and faith, trying to conceive journey, and relationship content. So funny stuff with my husband and
I've
all
seen some of
that.
those. Those are really cute.
Finally convinced him to make some content.
Thank you so much for coming on here.
Of
I'm going to be having more
course.
guests, that are really aligned with marriage or single women or dating, but really going for a purpose, really aligning with being her and in your feminine. And so follow Ariane. She definitely aligns with that kind of content. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.